Hello, good morning, everyone. I am Manoj Mishra, Assistant Professor in Department of Electrical Engineering at GGSMT, Mohali. So today I'm here to present a lecture in Control System Engineering, and the topic is stability in time domain. So basically, in Control System Engineering, we are more concerned with the system's stability, whether the system is stable or unstable, and the system is marginally stable. As an electrical engineer, our primary responsibility is to maintain system stability for the better performance, right? So first of all, I would like to share my screen. So here on screen, we can see the topic that is stability in time domain. So stability of the system, we can check in two domains, basically in time domain or in frequency domain, right? So today we are more concerned with the time domain stability check. So first topic for the stability check, there are some parameters which we should know in respect of stability analysis. Uh, First is transfer function, the concept of transfer function. So transfer function is a mathematical model representing a control system relating systems input and output. So basically transfer function is nothing but the ratio of system output to the system input in S domain, right? So I'll use some marker, right? So here transfer function is nothing but system output to the system input in S domain. So for better understanding of the transfer function and how to calculate transfer function of any system or any circuit, I have taken one simple example, one simple circuit consisting a resistor R and an inductor L in series. And this simple circuit is connected with a voltage source, and we have given a voltage input voltage source, right? So here the input parameter is V, and the output or response of the circuit is nothing but I, the current flowing through the resistor and inductor. So for this circuit, we can write one KVL equation. So the KVL equation, if we write KVL equation, so we can write V input voltage equals to IR plus L di by dt. So here IR is nothing but the voltage drop which is occurring across the resistor R, and L di by dt is nothing but the voltage drop across the inductor. So IR plus L di by dt is nothing but equal to the input voltage. So we have notated this equation as equation 1. In the next step, we can apply Laplace transform on equation 1. So after applying Laplace transform on equation 1, we can write the equation as Vs equals to R into Is plus Ls into Is equals to Is. We have taken common, so R Is bracket R plus Ls. So to find the transfer function of this circuit, so basically we need to find the ratio of Is to the Vs. Why Is to the Vs? Because Is is the response or output of the circuit and Vs is the input. So as I have defined, transfer function is nothing but a ratio of output to the input in S domain. So output parameter is current Is and input parameter is Vs. So the ratio of Is to the Vs is nothing but transfer function of this circuit, which is equal to 1 upon R plus Ls from the above relation. So more specifically, we can write this equal to 1 upon L S plus R upon L. So this is the transfer function of the circuit consisting R and L in series, right? So transfer function basically represent करता है आपके एक numerator to the denominator, right? So we can write down numerator as in terms of like k s plus z1 bracket s plus z2 upon s plus p1 and s plus t2 sorry, right? So here k is nothing but system gain. K is nothing but system gain. So in the next step, we will understand what are the singularities of the system. I mean, what are the poles and zeros of the system, right? So for that, we have to switch on the next screen. Okay. So yes, the poles. Poles. Poles are those singularities which makes transfer function infinity. ट्रांसफर फंक्शन में एस की वो वैल्यू जो ट्रांसफर फंक्शन को इन्फिनिटी बनाती हैं, ट्रांसफर फंक्शन की वैल्यू को इनफाइनाइट करती हैं, वो सिंगुलैरिटीज पोल्स कहलाती हैं इन सिंपल लैंग्वेज, राइट? So from the previous relation we can see that s equal to 0 and s plus p1 equals to 0, which gives us s equals to minus p1, and s plus p2 which gives us s equals to minus p2. So we have three singularities: s equal to 0, s equal to minus p1, and s equal to minus p2. These three singularities, 0, minus p1 and minus p2, makes the value of transfer function infinities. That's why these three singularities are known as poles of the transfer function, right? So what are zeros then? So zeros are those singularities which makes transfer function 0, which makes transfer function's value 0. So from the equation 2, we can see that s plus z1 equals to 0, which gives us s equal to minus z1, and s plus z2 equals to 0, which gives us s equals to minus z2. So here we can see that these s equal to minus z1 and minus z2, if we put these value in the equation number 2, so we will be getting the value of transfer function equal to 0. So these singularities s equal to minus z1 and minus z2 are nothing but zeros of transfer function, right? So in the next step we will understand what is S-plane and how we can comment on system stability with the help of S-planes. So S-plane is nothing but a simple xy axis plane, right? Here the x-axis is represented by sigma and minus sigma, and this axis is known as real axis, this one. And the y-axis is known as imaginary axis, and it is represented by j omega and minus j omega. So this plane is known as S-plane in control system engineering, right? So if the poles lie on the right half of S-plane, if any pole of the system, right, lies on the right half of S-plane, then the system is unstable. Then the system is unstable. If any pole lies on the right half of S-plane, this side of S-plane, then the system is unstable. If any pole lies on left half of S-plane, this side, on this side, if any pole lies on the left half of S-plane, then this system is stable, completely stable, right? So for any system to be stable, the poles of that particular system, that particular transfer function must lie on the left half of S-plane. I mean, in this region. For stable system, the poles must lie on this side, on this region. If any pole is lying on on right half of S-plane, this side, then the system is unstable. The system is unstable. We will move on the next screen, right? So here, here are some points with reference to the S-plane and the system stability. The first point is, for a system to be stable, all the poles of the system from the transfer function should lie on the left half of S-plane. As I repeated, as I mentioned the last point, or in the last screen, that for a stable system, all the poles must lie on the left half of S-plane. If any pole is lying on the right half of S-plane, the system is unstable. Then the system is unstable. Point number 2. Point number 3. If the system will be more unstable if more number of poles lie on the left half of S-plane. As per this point, if for example, I will explain this with an example. For just consider one transfer function or one system for which two number of poles lie on the right half of S-plane. It means the system is unstable, right? Because two number of poles is lying on the right half of S-plane. Just consider one another circuit or one another system whose three number of poles are lying on the right half of S-plane. So this system is also unstable because three number of poles are lying on the right half of its plane. So as per the number of poles are lying on the right half of S plane. So in the second case, three number of poles are lying on the right half of S plane. So This second example or system represented in the second example is more unstable because three number of poles are lying on the right half of the plane. This is meant by the point number 3, right? So point number 4, system stability is independent of placement of system zeros. So for any system, there will be one transfer function. So for any transfer function, there will be some zeros and some poles. So for any system, system stability is independent. System stability is not dependent on the placement of zeros. Zeros may lie anywhere on the plane, right? For we can relate position of zero with the stability, system stability. We are concerned with placement of poles, position of poles, if we are concerned with the system stability. So with this help, with this concept or with this knowledge, we can achieve any kind of stability for our any system with the help of adding or subtracting or removing number of poles from the system, right? So this is explained in the point number 5. So in this manner, we can set or achieve desired stability required of any system by adding or removing number of poles in terms of compensator. So we can add or we can remove poles from or to the any system, right? How we will achieve this? Just with the help of compensator, right? So adding compensator in the circuit, we can add a number of poles or we can remove number of poles as per our requirement, as per our desire. So basically there are three types of compensator: lead compensator, lag compensator, and lead lag compensator, right? So this was actually about the stability in time domain. So there are some mathematical analysis also to comment on the stability of the system in time domain. One particular technique is known as Routh-Horvitz criterion, RH criteria of system stability, right? So we will understand this RH criteria or Routh-Horvitz criteria with one example. I have taken one system polynomial here, like PS equal to s की power 4 plus s 8s cube plus 18s square plus 16s plus 5. This is system polynomial. What is system polynomial? Do you remember the transfer function? The transfer function was nothing but the ratio of system output to the input, right? Output to the input. So input was denominator. So denominator polynomial from that transfer function is nothing but system polynomial, which is represented here as PS. And we have put it equal to 0. So to comment on stability, right, we have to construct one Routh array. One Routh array. So how we will construct this Routh array? We have constructed Routh array like if this polynomial is starting, the highest power is s की power 4. So s की power 4, s3, s square, s1, and s0. We have written this as like, and 1, 18, and 5. So 1, 18, and 5 we have written here. Then 8 and 16. 8 and 16 we have noted here, and 0. If any element is not given in the polynomial, then it will be equal to 0. Then after these two rows, we have calculated rest of the rows for the completion of this Routh array. So for completion of this Routh array, we have to calculate B1, B2, C1, D1, and rest of the elements are 0, right? So for calculation of this V1, V2, C1, and D1, there is one procedure. We will understand that procedure. So for calculation of this V1, right, this V1, so the technique is 8 into 18, this into this minus this into this divided by this, right? So 8 into 18 minus 1 into 16 divided by 8. So if we calculate this, this is equal to 16. This is equal to 16, right? So the next parameter is V2. Next parameter is V2. In similar fashion, we will calculate V2. So to calculate this V2, this 8 into 5, 8 into 5 minus 1 into 0 and divided by 8, right? So 8 into 5 minus 1 into 0 divided by 8. If we calculate this, this is equal to 5. Similarly, we have calculated C1 and D1. C1 is nothing but 13.5 and D1 is 5. So we have put it these value of B1, B2, C1 and D1 in the Routh array. So we are getting Routh array like this. So we have completed this Routh array. So, and the first column in Routh array. To comment on system stability with the help of Routh Hurwitz criteria, RS criteria, we are concerned with the first column. So how we are concerned with the first column? We have to check number of sign changes in the first column, right? So if there are no sign change in the first column, it means no pole of the system lie on the right half of the plane and the system is completely stable. Listen me carefully. If there are no sign changes in the first column, right? First column, this is first column. If there is no sign change in the first column, it means no pole lie on the right half of S plane and the system is completely stable. If, just suppose another thing, if there is one sign change or two sign change in the first column, right? So it means if there are two sign changes in the first column, so there will be two number of poles lying on the right half of S plane and the system will be unstable. So how it is possible? Just suppose we have calculated the value of V1, V2, C1, D1, and the value, just suppose the value of C1 was minus 13.5. The value of C1 was minus 13.5. Just hold 1 second. So the value, if I put this minus 13.5 in this RS criteria, Routh Hurwitz array, so it will look like minus 13.5, right? So just now check the number of sign changes. Plus 1 to plus 8, no sign change, but plus 16 to minus 13.5, one sign change, and from minus 13.5 to 5, another one sign change. So basically one sign change and another sign change. So there are two sign changes if C1 is minus 13.5. I'm just explaining in case of if C1 was minus 13.5. So there will be in that case there will be two sign changes. So it means in that particular case, two number of poles must be lying on the right half of the plane and the system will be unstable in that case. So in this manner, we can comment on the system stability in time domain, right? Here in the particular example, there are no sign changes. There are no sign changes in the first column. So we can say that the system is stable, right? Thank you guys. Thank you everyone.